All right, it's 5:30. We'll call the meeting to order. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag. All right. First line on the agenda is personal appearances. Any personal appearances? Mr. Bauman, you look like you're.
So it could be off, that's fine.
Oh,
It's not a big deal. I'm pretty loud.
We probably got a pretty big crowd online tonight. So.
Thanks, Aaron. All right, Park Board, I come on behalf of the Minot Boosters. My name is Brian Bauman. I am the director. Want to thank you for your support and partnership with. I'm sure Bob and Jared touch on the event that we had. And we're here for our future planning down the road here as we look at current ice times and availability and the new high school coming in, our kind of needs and not necessarily wants, but we are in the position again to meet with you guys to discuss funding for it and some basically what we are willing to put a substantial amount into again after being able to get to levels that we were prior to investing in that series. Just something that we want to get on the radar that you guys, we have increased ice time over the last 5-6 years. Numbers are continuing to grow. We're not like in a dire need right now. 5 years could become an issue for us on expanding and continuing to run the programming. One of the things we are able to do that some of the other cities guys aren't is offer more amount of ice time for our players. Touching extra hours a week is more important. Just using what is actually available, so we don't want to have to take away. So, just something to put on your guys' radar if they're set up some kind of meeting on my own, talking with ready and operating. If anybody has any questions.
Any questions for Brian at all?
Again, it's just something we don't want to come back and through colleges involved that I'm over currently have.
If we had a fourth sheet at Mesa, does that allow you, I'm guessing, to expand tournaments as well? I mean, are there teams that would come that can't come now because you can't accommodate?
Correct. There are currently we do 2 of them. We're able to have more than we do shut off about. We had a girls in January actually had ice at like 18. And it's not something that's not important to us, but it's rank of order, obviously athletes to be able to get into. Yes. Tournament use.
At the same time, that's bringing more people to Minot, economic impact stuff too.
Okay. Anything else for Brian? Appreciate you coming. Thanks, Brian. Any other public appearances, or personal appearances? I'm sorry. If not, you want to, Mr. Ackerman, would you like to be moved up to personal appearances, or do you want to wait till the end of the agenda? You want to go now?
It's not.
President Hammer and Park Board members, Ryan Ackerman here as the administrator for the Souris River Joint Board. Appreciate you bumping me up in your agenda. My intent today is to make the following request on behalf of the Souris River Joint Board. We're looking for permission to construct a few things related to the flood control project on Park District property. Within the handouts that I gave you, you'll see the various items that are listed within that request. Basically, it's everything except for the final zoo exhibits that we're still working with Jeff and the Park District team on finalizing those. Frame a little bit of context here for what's driving our urgency. This is the future regulatory floodplain throughout Minot. Currently working on several projects that are in. Well, one of these projects is in construction. That'd be phase MI5 on the east side of town. Designing the Maple Diversion along with the Corps of Engineers. Once we get those initial phases all completed and connected together, somewhere around 2029, we're going to see a reduction in that floodplain from what you see on the screen here to this. So about 60% of the valley residents are going to be removed from that floodplain and provided with flood protection. What we're talking about here tonight is related to both milestones 2 and 3 in Minot, and I just wanted to lay that out on the screen here. Roosevelt Park and Zoo would be the area in that green outline. You'll see the alignments for milestones 2 and 3 go right through the park, basically on each side of the river, of course. So I'm going to be talking about specifically phases MI6 and MI7 today. Ultimately, when we get this milestone completed, we're going to remove another 15% or so of people from that floodplain that are in the valley right now. And then ultimately that third milestone will follow kind of on the heels of the second one. So ultimately, this will be the final floodplain as it looks going to the Minot, following all flood control. So talk a little bit just about MI6. In particular, I'm going to zoom in, show a couple of graphics kind of on the east side of MI6. These are the ones that are specifically on Park District property. I'm happy to go through any questions if you guys have those on other elements of the project, but just really trying to focus on next to Park District property today. So the first slide here that I want to show is this is the entrance coming into Roosevelt Park, the entrance into the pool. What I've done here too, I added the line work just to kind of show you where the existing road sits. So that dashed line with the blue shading, that's where the existing road sits. This red line that's on here, that's indicative of the flood wall alignment that's going to be constructed through there. So as you kind of get toward the east end of Central Avenue before the entrance into the park, the flood wall is basically on that north curb line of the road. That'll be the center of the new wall. And then ultimately that new wall, it basically goes down the middle of the road going into the park, even on the south, the southern boundary of the park from the north. Just kind of gives you some feel for where these elements are going to sit. And then as we reconstruct roadways, that stuff ultimately gets pushed to the south. And that's where you see some of those trees that are being cleared through the dead loop in that area. Those are being cleared to accommodate the construction of new access into the park. Talk a little bit about flood wall features. So this little triangle that I've got on the screen now, that would be pointing in the direction of the flood wall. That would give you a depiction of what this is going to look like. And I've got some additional detail on this in the slides that follow. But basically, we're coordinating the aesthetics between phases MI6, MI7, so that they are similar. They aren't identical. They're similar in the fact that we're going to be using kind of a stacked or cultured stone look on the bottom, and primarily smooth stained concrete on the top. And I'll give you a look at what that's going to be coming up in a couple of slides here. As we get into the park, you can kind of see lightly underneath some of these graphics or whatever, the existing road layouts. There's an existing pump station. If you follow where my cursor is at up here. Probably the biggest thing to point out in this area, right on the west side of the pool, would be this large structure that's going to sit here. That is going to be a stormwater pump station. So again, looking at the front of this building, this will give you a feel for what that structure would look like. Again, we're incorporating that stacked stone or that cultured stone kind of look through all the different features. If you're familiar with the pump station that's over by Perkett, this is going to look very similar to that, with just a little bit different finish. Okay, just so that the finish for this stacked stone look is kind of consistent throughout the entire park area. Okay, transitioning now into phase MI7. I've similarly got kind of two snapshots, if you will. I kind of zoom in here a little bit with more detail. So taking a look at the north side here, as we've gone through before, primarily levee along the north side of the park. We're reconstructing and adding some parking, basically taking into account the spaces that we're impacting and replacing those in kind, relocating many of your features, covered shelters, playgrounds, the Magic City Express things like that. A couple of buildings that we are doing as this initial push that we're looking for your approval on would be number one, the replacement restroom. There's nothing too architecturally appealing about this restroom, but it is a replacement basically in kind of what you have. Then the other piece as well would be the Magic City Express storage building, basically where they park their trains. So those are the elevations of those two features. Nothing too exotic with either one of those.
Train storage. Where's that building?
It would be northeast of the pool. So you look up here on the screen.
I see it.
Kind of this area. Yep.
And then the restrooms going on the other side of the pickleball courts.
Correct.
From
So
where
the
it's
new
currently at?
restrooms would be located on the north side of the pickleball. Oh, there's two of them on the screen. I want to.
I could take a look at it. Thanks.
Maybe I should save my jokes for after you. Okay. Now, kind of turning our attention into the relocated zoo area and the existing zoo area. Probably the biggest thing that I want to focus on here again is the aesthetics of the flood wall. This is a little bit different than what I showed for MI6, in that we are incorporating, as we've talked about in the past, kind of a rolling hill pattern throughout the flood wall. So, what you see kind of on this panel that I'm highlighting here, that with this kind of horizontal band going through here, this is going to be similar to what you see throughout all of MI6. Okay, so from swimming pool and west. And then when we get east of the swimming pool, we transition to that flood wall that goes to the zoo, you'll see kind of this rolling hill pattern that carries through. And then there'll be plain concrete on top of that, and that plain concrete will provide basically a canvas for future murals if the Park District wants to, as a part of your process going into the future. This kind of gives a elevation view of these flood walls that shows kind of that rolling pattern going through there. Next item that I wanted to point out here is the concession building. So we are proposing to construct this concession building this summer. This will be a front elevation of that. So again, trying to incorporate some of those similar elements here with kind of a cultured stone look on portions of that. So it'll blend in aesthetically with the walls behind it. A couple other things that we're working on, working with Jared and his team on preservation of approximately 70 different memorials and monuments within the park. So we're actively working on that and coming up with a plan for the storage and ultimately the reinstallation of those. Just want to revisit kind of where we landed last time with the Teddy statue. We looked at 3 different locations. Ultimately, the directive that we've given our team is to move forward with location C along Burdick Expressway. And I want to chat through just a little bit of construction phasing here. This will be probably the last thing that I cover with you before I take your questions. What we're trying to do ultimately is to try for relatively uninterrupted use of the zoo, of the pool, the pickleball courts, and also East Roosevelt Park. Okay, so this area on the north and east side of the river. In order to do that, we've come up with a phasing plan that we're looking to implement. Certainly in your feedback on it. We're currently what I'm going to call in phase A of this, which is corridor prep. So we're pre-consolidating the soils. That's the big mounded dirt that's east of or northeast of the pickleball courts. And then we're also performing tree removal, as you're well aware. Those are long, kind of, I'm going to call them potentially long lead items. The pre-consolidation pile has to be in place for about 6 months before we get the required settlement out of that material that's underneath that pile. And we can't start building flood walls or levees until that 6 months has elapsed. So the fact that we've got it out there now is really important in the overall schedule. And then the tree removal, we're doing that prior to March 31st, basically because the northern long-eared bat, an endangered species, is known to fly through this region and could be expected to nest in these trees along the river. So we're required to do all tree removals before those critters potentially get here. So that's phase A. Second phase we're working on, as I mentioned, is the monument relocation. That's going to happen starting this spring. Another item that we're working through that we've got a package out for bid right now would be for some, I'm going to call them minor utility relocations within the zoo. And this is to accommodate services for the new concession stand, the new or the relocated Discovery Barn, and also services to the the African Plains exhibit, the giraffe barn, I guess. Our intent of doing that as a separate package is that we can cleanly do this work within the zoo, and then once that work is completed, coordinated with the African Plains exhibit, we'll be able to put up our interim perimeter fence that'll basically separate zoo operations from the construction site. We anticipate that fence going into place likely around October 1st. We still need to coordinate with Jeff because at that point, basically the access across the river to the North American exhibit via the pedestrian bridge would be cut off. Okay, so our current tentative plan is for that to occur right around October 1st. So we would be able to maintain access to the North American exhibits through this fall. Following that, or I guess concurrent with that, I should say, there would be 3 building projects that occur this summer. One, of course, being the African Plains exhibit, the concession stand that I mentioned, and also the relocation of the Discovery Barn. So that's those 3 yellow boxes that you see on there. And then early this summer, likely beginning in June, that's when we're going to start to see some heavy civil construction. And that's going to occur in these areas that are in blue and in orange. Okay. So in blue, this would be primarily levee construction and also utilities from Burdick Expressway up through the proposed relocated zoo exhibits. So we're going to do that heavy civil construction this summer. And then next summer is when we would transition into the zoo area with the flood wall construction at that time. And then also at that time, you'll see on this slide highlighted in blue here, where the Teddy statue is currently at that part of the park. That's when we would start the reconstruction of the zoo exhibits. That would be next year. So basically, we're looking to get our heavy civil contractor in and out of this area, and then have a little bit more specialty trades come in and construct these exhibits in 2025. Okay, so that's kind of the summary of the request. Mr. President and board members, I'd take your questions if you have any.
I have a couple, Ryan. So the restrooms, are those restrooms closed right now? Yeah, are they accessible? Or
They are currently closed for tree removal.
okay. So you're on that, would we have restrooms there while the new restrooms be constructed and then the old restroom be demolished, or is there going to be a time where we don't have restrooms?
There will not be a time where you don't have restrooms. What we will be doing in the interim is bringing in portables,
Okay.
basically, and that'll be a flood control cost. There will be a period where there isn't a physical building that's available for restrooms. We'll take care of that.
Same question with the concession stand.
With the concession stand, there will not be a period where you don't have a concession.
Okay. And then the Discovery Barn, when that gets moved, will that be reopened? Or is that going to be closed for a period of time?
That's a fair question. I imagine that it'll have to be closed during a period of time while modifications are made to it.
Sure. Yeah.
So
the goal is to move it,
be a temporary
get it back open.
Yes,
as quick as we can.
But there, just to be honest, there will be a time where we have to close it down in its current location, prep for the move, and the move itself, and then the time afterwards to kind of reconstruct it and attach it to the foundation. It'll take a little bit of time to
Sure. Understand
that works.
So I guess Jeff, with the animals then? What's the plan with the animals in between that time? Yeah.
We've already made arrangements. Every barn will be to
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any questions for?
Once you start the flood wall, you said next summer?
It'd be this summer for portion through the, I'm gonna call it the western part of Rose. So where the Teddy statue currently sits, that portion of the park, basically from the tennis courts down to the existing zoo, that flood wall will be under construction this summer.
Timeline, I guess, optimistically.
Yep.
3 years, 2 years?
I think it's 3 years. Realistically, maybe optimistic, but it's really going to be weather dependent. So, I mean, as an example, phase MI5, which is currently under construction in Northeast Minot, the original construction schedule was for a 3-year build. Looks like the contractor is going to be able to get it mostly done, 99% done in 2. Primarily because they've had a really good winter and they've been able to keep
So do you
progress.
consider 2024 year? Okay,
Correct.
3 years?
Yep. By the end of 2025, with some items that go into 2026.
Okay.
Talking about unrestricted use. Like the pool and the pickleball, of course, 2%. That's just a question. Those being shut down for a day, 2 days at a time, longer, shorter, or
That is possible, but I think we just need to coordinate very closely with Park District staff and the events that are going to be happening there. We like within our specifications, we're very explicit that access shall be maintained at all times to these assets and resources. But we're also not completely naive to the fact that things happen during construction. So we just trying to be realistic here and say that there may be a period where we have to interrupt use there, but there's nothing that's currently on our radar where we see it as a certainty. We're going to work with our contractors to make sure that we minimize any.
and if you do have disruption, we're not going to show up also
No,
that day.
it'll be planned. Yeah.
Thanks.
So, Mr. President, I guess I would move that the Park District grant permission to the Souris River Joint Board to construct items listed out through 1 through 7 as requested.
Motion by Perry, second by Cliff. Any discussion at all? Roll call or? Call the roll, please, Kellen.
Hovda,
Yes.
Olson,
Yes.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Hammer.
Yes. Motion's approved.
And just
Work
thanks.
tomorrow.
Thank you for keeping us up to date too. I'm sure we're gonna. I was talking to Sabrina outside of your office yesterday, and I was saying I'm surprised I haven't heard more about everything that's going on there right now, and I think we probably will start to hear more about it. Appreciate knowing what's happening all the time. So
I guess it'll be our intent to be at every one of your meetings going forward because we're impactful. This is going to be our operations.
I appreciate it a lot. So
I'd like to echo that. Of the feedback and questions. It's really helpful, as knowledgeable as we can about this project. Just for instance, on the trees, I'm able to happening construction and 2 for 1. So keeping us informed is, from our perspective, really helpful.
And we view it as a necessity. Great partners, and we don't want to take that. So.
And just a note on, talking about pickleball courts and pool, and we have really good communication with Souris River Joint Board and Sabrina, their communication, but we are already starting communications with some of those main user groups, like the pickleball users, for example, bringing them in now, knowing that there is a possibility we could have disruptions and other facilities or courts that we could coordinate with them, and we can keep them in the know and they can keep their groups in the know. I think we'll be as proactive as we can be. So, thank you.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank
All right, moving on. Next item is the meeting minutes. Look for a motion to approve the minutes of the February 20th Park Board meeting and the March 1st special meeting.
I make a motion to approve both minutes.
I'll second.
Motion by Mike, second by Perry. All in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. Moving on to the bills, we have looking for approval of the bills of $437,728.86.
To approve as presented.
Motion by Cliff, we have a second.
I'll second.
Seconded by Mike, any discussion? Callan, call the roll, please.
Hovda.
Yes.
Olson.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Hammer.
Yes. Bills are approved. On to the salaries. Looking for approval of salaries in the amount of $338,082.23.
I would move approval of the salaries for that amount.
Motion by Perry. Do we have a second? Second by Cliff. Any discussion? Not, Callan, please call the roll.
Hovda. Olson.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Hammer.
Yes. Salaries are approved. Financials.
I don't have anything to add. But can I answer any questions?
Any questions for Callan at all? Okay, we'll move on to department reports. Jared, you're number one on the list.
Park Board President Commissioners, I'll be up a few different times tonight. I put something in front of you, kind of a supplement report. Just try to organize a lot of things that are going to happen at the meeting. So first off, number one, I guess for South Hill Complex LD discussion, that will be in foundation, not during this time. So we'll come back to that during the foundation. So out of my report I submitted, one thing I wanted to ask for approval on, Cirrus Valley Golf Course, we would like to propose an active military season pass. Over the last few years, Steve has seen an increase in active military golf participation. So we would like to, do that as at the $630 rate, which is comparable to our current senior pass. And we have taken that in a few of our other facilities, kind of match that with our senior pass. So since we've already approved our rates for the summer, I'm asking for approval to move forward with putting in an active military season pass.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to put the active military season pass into Cirrus Valley Golf Course.
motion by Mike, second by Cliff. Any discussion at all?
Have you seen some increase various?
Well, I guess Commissioner Hubda, we could run a report on something like that, but
Just your thought.
I think it has, and Steve brought it up with the increased military usage that he's had over the last few years. Again, try to give back to those military staff as well.
Okay,
Good idea.
so we had a motion and a second. Any further discussion at all? Sure. Never say no to an attorney.
That's a great question.
Yes.
I would say it would.
Anybody down?
Yeah.
I think it's.
Guard member all within.
That's how we've done it in the past.
Clarify it.
Yep, is that your understanding of your motion?
Absolutely.
Cliff, your understanding
They're
too?
all military branches.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, Pete. Callan, call the roll, please.
Hovda. Olson.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Hammer.
Yes. Approved.
Okay, I'd answer any other questions at this time, but a lot of it will be covered in new business, old business, and foundation.
Any questions or Anything for Jared? Okay, thank you, Jared.
Thank you.
Steve, you're up next.
Nothing really to add. We're just kind of waiting for the weather to break and hopefully get going sooner than later.
Sounds good. Anything for Steve at all? Mike, you're up next.
Okay, happy to say that I completed winter maintenance for the equipment this year, so we're ready to go. Also, we're starting on our golf cart lease. We're doing the oil changes and going through that. So, any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Anything for Mike? Oh, Jeff, the zoo, you're up next.
All I've got to add to my report is we did lose a Simang gibbon on Friday. Still trying to sort out the reasons for that, but we did put out a press release earlier this morning to the public to make them aware of that loss and figure out what's going on with that.
Okay. Sorry to hear that. Anything else for Jeff? Not Bob, you're up next.
Thanks, Sam. All right, just one update to my report on line 3 if you have it in front of you. Unfortunately, the annual North Dakota Amateur Hockey Association Girls Spring Summit that's usually held here at the Mesa had to cancel due to some AAA tournaments now that are popping up around the area. They could get enough girls to register, so that's going to probably take about 2,000 out of the weekend. I'm going to put public sessions in to try to recoup some of that money, but no fault of their own. They just didn't have enough girls to do the work. So I don't know where that event's going to go. We'll reevaluate, I guess, when we have our state meeting, but that will not happen. So I want to make sure you were notified of that. And then just again, a quick wrap up. I could talk for 2 hours here on this past week's event, but I want to give you I think the letter that Coach Hoff, I put that in front of you before the meeting, pretty much summed it up better than I could. But I think Minot did what Minot does, and if there's an event, everyone pulls together and puts on a plus event. And I can sit here and go through everyone that did what and what they did for this event. But to the small part that we did, that was one of the most. I've been in Parks and Recreation now since 1995, and that's probably one of the most rewarding experiences I've been involved with, just with everyone I worked with, and just to watch those athletes. That was unbelievable. So. I don't got much time left in this industry, but if I can do anything more like that, that was pretty cool. So I just want to give you that from David Hoff's perspective. I'm sure Dan Brennan, I've known him with other USA hockey positions, and I caught him before the end of the night. I just said, what do you think real quick? And he just said, home run, absolute home run to you and your team. So I think we'll hopefully get something down the road sooner than later again with this group. And Prairie Grit and Hockey Boosters and their tournament they did. Again, A-plus job what they did with their tournament, and hopefully we can keep that an annual event at the rink. And 3 things that they told me that are small things to us that you don't think about, but the women's team made a comment that when you're even though we had the clear benches, there's the bench side where they have blind spots in the corners. And because we had the video board with the game on, they didn't miss any of the action because they could actually watch the game when they couldn't see out of the benches. And you don't think about that as an able-bodied person. Washer and dryers at the facility. We had ours, the Hockey Boosters, and then the Toros as backup. They were doing daily washes of sometimes 2 washes, all 4 teams. So a lot of rinks don't have that on site. So that's a small thing you don't think about. But in their eyes was huge. They didn't have to leave site with all their laundry and jerseys. And then the varsity locker rooms, I want to thank all the varsity level teams that let us use their locker rooms and coaches' rooms. And they got to keep it there the whole week. I didn't know this, but Chris Douglas said a lot of times they have to take their stuff in and out. And if you would see the production they had and the support staff they had and all the tables they had outside these rooms, I can't imagine packing up after every game in the practice. So that was huge. And I just thought it was great. So just again, I want to give you that letter from Coach Hoff, and I'm sure Coach Brennan will be following up as well. But other than that, ice show this week, and then we have another week of ice with the Minot State tournament, and then the 2 rinks will come out, and then we'll be not so busy on ice, but we'll start our off ice projects on the other side, get some tower and get the bathrooms and showers done, and get into summer mode. So any questions, I'll entertain them. Otherwise, I just had that one update from my report.
Are you a Taylor Swift fan?
I will be after Sunday.
Just
I'll leave it at that. Looking forward to it, though.
I take it you're going to a concert?
I will be. Well,
It's the ice show.
it's not on my
Oh, the ice-
playlist,
gotcha.
President Hammer, but I will be
Sorry.
at all 4 shows,
Let's get
and looking forward to it.
President Hammer some VIP tickets.
There you go. Thanks, Perry. All right. No, I was out there a few times. I went to the Saturday game, and then I was at the Friday game, and I went Wednesday and watched practices, and it was impressive. I definitely was, and I saw the production of their equipment and everything. It's kind of, you don't think about it until you see it. So it was pretty cool to see. So great job to everybody that was involved. Anything else for Bob? Okay, move on to James, maintenance.
All right. We're working on getting everything ready for spring. Started putting some bathrooms back together. Still a little too cold to turn anything on, but we're getting ahead of everything so we can do that just as soon as the weather cooperates. And then we're still sprinkling in some snow removal here and there. So seems like every 10 days we get just enough to go clean trails again. Trying to stay on top of both seasons.
Okay, perfect. Anything for James? Okay, Shannon?
Just beginning our busy part of the season. We've been sending a handful of crew out doing just kind of park cleanup, after the winter. There's some things to pick up out there. Greenhouses are filling up. We've got plant shipments coming every week now until the beginning of May. And then happy first day of spring. And of course, there's snow in the forecast. So that may affect a little bit of the baseball season that's getting into full swing right now, but we'll be on top of that and do what we can depending on what the weather brings. I'd be happy to answer any questions if you had any.
Anything for Shannon? Okay, thanks, Shannon. Troy?
Nothing really to add, but I guess we'll be ready in case this weather turns out to be worse than I'm expecting. Like I heard there's some pretty nasty amounts might be coming this weekend, so we'll be ready to help when we need to. If you have any questions, I can sure try to answer them.
Anything for Troy? No. Tom?
Just letting you know that we hosted most of the Class B girls and boys districts and the girls region and sprinkled in A qualifiers. That went well. Kathy and her staff worked extra long hours with that. And then if you get a chance, pop into the Armory and take a look at the Armory now. We've turned it into with the help of Magic City Youth Baseball into a baseball academy type thing down there. We've got some turf and hitting cage and everything so the youth can, they had their tryouts down there and now they're using it until they can get outside. And then just to let you know also, we do have the protective netting up on the press boxes up at South, so whenever the high school and college decides to go, we could help them out. Bases out up at North Hill for Ryan. That's all I got.
Sounds good. Anything for Tom? And you're up next.
2 weekends ago, we had our annual volleyball extravaganza. We had 49 teams in town, so another great turnout for that. That was up from last year. So that's always a fun event. And we're just getting everything ready for summer, starting to talk about the pool and all that stuff. So that means hopefully spring is going to be here soon.
Tomorrow. First day of spring.
Yep.
My wedding anniversary.
Till
That's
it's
the only reason
not.
I know that. So, anything, Fran? Dennis, Mark, you're up next. April. Perfect. Anything for Mark? No? Okay. Thank you all, department heads. Moving on to new business. First item is all seasons arena ice contract.
All right, Park Board President Commissioners, again, we are in the last year of our current 3-year agreement with the All Seasons Arena with our ice contract. So this one, again, we can sign it at any time. Again, I believe ice goes in October 28th this year. Again, it's been 8 to 10 days earlier the last couple of years than we've had in the past. That's good and bad. I mean, it's good that we get the ice out there a little earlier. The other downfall part of it is it does cost us $1,000 a day roughly. So that's why if you see in the contract it looks like a higher amount this year than before, it's because there's additional days. But with coordination with Brian and the Minot hockey boosters, basically day one we say it's open, they start booking out there. Because their tryouts are happening in October and other teams need ice too. So that is just something that we'll be looking to sign. Ellie will sign it at some point. And then after that, they have given us a layout for 3 more years with a little step increase each year of rates. So we'll have that, and we'll bring that obviously during the budget process. But that one again, just would like to ask for approving the 24-25 ice contract at the All Seasons Arena.
I'd make a motion to approve the 24-25 ice contract, all seasons.
Motion by Mike,
I'll second.
second by Perry. Any discussion at all? Not Callan, call the roll, please.
Hovda.
Yes.
Olson.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Hammer.
Yes. Motion approved.
Thank you. Second item I have is Corbett Sound System. We've been kind of limping it along, doing the best we can with the help of Northwest Projector with that sound system the last few years. We get some hot spots where it's real quiet in one area. You go to the next area and it's blasting. So it's very difficult to balance that system. And I think they've done everything they can to the current system, get that to work for us. So Northwest Projector did put in a quote to upgrade our sound system. And again, with the Hot Tots and Honeybees, they're willing to commit $15,000 this year. So we are looking for an additional $15,000 because year one of the phasing is about $30,000. And then next year would be phase 2, would be an additional $20,000. And we would work with the other users and ourselves to fund that. Obviously, this was not a budgeted expense, but we would be looking be able to use some of the carryover capital improvement funds, previous projects that one we either finished and there was a little money left over, or it's projects that we're not 100% sure if we're going to move forward with possible renovations down the road, and also kind of the advertising scheme of the new teams, because they take about every spot they can to put a sign up. So that kind of changed our renovation. So I guess for that, and again, this sound system is an upgrade needed for every user that uses Corbett Field.
Why is it a 2-year? Like, what happened?
Well, because it's 30. Pushing $50,000.
Oh, so they're going to do all the work.
Well, we're going to do work this year, and then we'll do more work next year. Because right now, again, the Hot Tots and Honeybees could only commit about $15,000. I mean,
so there's like certain spots that are going to be taken care of.
This will make it a great sound system, but there's more things in phase 2, year 2, right, that will upgrade the fan experience at the ballpark for everyone.
These improvements will have an immediate impact. They'll just be enhanced the following year.
Okay, so you're looking for a motion from us tonight.
I would move approval of the funds needed to complete year 1.
Second.
Motion by Perry, second by Cliff. Any discussion at all?
I think the seat that I'm assigned for got the epitome of This would be a great improvement.
Commissioner Hubda, give me that seat number and we will make sure it's dialed in. You let me know, we can make that happen.
I think it's
Leave
good.
that out of the minutes, Ken.
I think it's good to see too that they're kicking in $15,000 as a user. I mean, obviously, it's great to work with our users as we've heard earlier today. So thanks to them.
All right, so we got a motion. Alan, call the roll, please.
Hubda.
Yes.
Olson.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Hammer.
Yes. Motion approved.
Thank you. Get that moving forward. The next items are the equipment bids that we have put out. We opened bids on March 14th. First one I'd like to go over is the Zoo UTV. We did have 3 companies with submissions. We had Gooseneck Implement, Deere Honda, and then MTI Toro. After reviewing the submissions, we are recommending that we go with Pure Honda. It does meets the specifications to fit the zoo's use the best. It was not the lowest, but it does fit the specifications, and we will be able to do extend the lease terms to be able to fit our budget.
So their current proposal was for 14 grand a year for 3.5 year lease.
Correct, and
They're
I
willing to
did clarify that we can move that out to 7-8 years if that's what we wanted to do.
But you'll do it so it falls into the 11,500.
Get it into that our budget range or lower.
Okay. Entertain a motion for the UTV for the zoo.
I'll make a motion to go with the bid from Pure Honda.
I can second.
Got a motion from Mike, second by Perry. Any further discussion at all? Not, Callan, call the roll, please.
Hubda. Olson.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Hammer.
Yes. UTV the zoo's approved. On to the golf cart now?
Yep, thank you. Golf cart lease. We are in the last year of our 4-year agreement for the current club cars. We did put that out. We did have the 3 companies submit 4 different proposals. But we would recommend going with North Dakota Golf Carts club cars with $46,456.52 annually for 44 golf carts. That's currently what we have. This would take effect in 2025, but we will budget accordingly for that.
We have club cars now.
We currently have club cars now. The previous leases we had Yamaha. And we
Yes, my impression on the club cars are a lot. A little bit. Not so much that tracking. No difference.
And Commissioner Huffman, we did have that discussion with Steve and Mike. And they said the biggest difference, they may ride a little bit rougher and they are a little bit louder. But I did ask if that was enough to not take the low submission and move up to the next one, which would be the Yamaha DR2 Fleet AFI for $48,556. So it's only a couple $1,000s. I guess I would put that back to the board if that's a desire.
This would be for 4 years starting
2025
next year. Okay.
I don't know if it's worth it, but there's a difference.
Yep.
4 golf carts there and the 5th comes up and it's club car. It's my mind.
Commissioner Hovden and the rest of the board, again, that was the recommendation by golf staff to go with the Yamaha. But again, I said, it has to be specific reasons if we aren't going with the low bidder. So I guess at this point, I would leave it up to the board. Happy with either club car or Yamaha. They're both good cars, but there is differences.
Go ahead.
It may not be worth it. I'll go with the recommendation. Accept that.
Motion from Cliff. There's a second.
I'll second.
Second by Mike. Any discussion at all? Not, Callan, call the roll, please.
Hubda.
Yes.
Olson.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Hammer.
Yes. Motion approved. Now we're on to compact track loader.
Onto the compact track loader. We had one submission. It was from Swanston, which is a Bobcat. It did meet or exceed specifications. For that item, we would recommend Swanston.
I'd move approval of the presented item.
Motion by Perry. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mike. Any further discussion at all? This would be immediately then, Jared? This is for this coming
Yes,
summer?
these are current. Yeah, current budgeted items.
Okay. Sounds good. Anything else for any other discussion? Callan, call the roll.
Hubda. Yes. Olson.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Hammer.
Yes. Motion approved. On to the toolcat and forestry.
Next item was Toolcat. Again, had one submission from Bobcat. We will trade in our current Toolcat. So they did offer us a $34,500 trade-in value. So again, we'd be looking at a $41,070.87 difference. It does meet our meets bid or exceeds specifications. We would recommend that. And just a reminder with forestry, it does just come out of their equipment replacement line. That would be for this item and the next item. And Callan says we are good on that item.
Okay, even though we're over our budgeted line.
Right, because they are just, it's a little bit different. It's not a budgeted, it's their overall equipment line with the way the mills work for the forestry department.
Gotcha.
So I'd move approval for the toolcat for forestry as presented.
Motion by Perry. We have a second.
Second.
Second by Cliff. Any further discussion? Not, Callan, call the roll, please.
Hubda.
Yes.
Olson.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Hammer.
Yes. Motion approved.
Thank you. Next item is a 19,500 gross value weight truck for forestry. They call it a chipper truck. We did have one submission, Nelson Auto Center out of Fergus Falls. Again, it does meet or exceed specifications. And that dollar amount of $93,823.50 does work with the equipment replacement line for forestry, and it is under actually what we are anticipating for submission.
Make a motion to accept that bid.
Motion by Mike. Do we have a second?
Second.
Perry, second. Okay, second by Perry. Any discussion? Any further discussion? Not, Callan, call the roll, please.
Hubda.
Yeah.
Olson.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Hammer.
Yes. Motion approved.
Okay, next item, the 1-ton service box maintenance truck. We had 0 submissions for that one this time. I would recommend that we advertise starting next week and try to have something for the April board meeting.
Okay. Anybody entertain a motion to approve that?
Make a motion to re-advertise.
Second.
Motion by Mike, second by Perry. Any discussion at all? Callan, do we need a roll call on that as well too, or just a drop kick? Call the roll, please.
Hubda. Yes. Olson.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Hammer.
Yes.
And then the last one was just skid steer attachments. We did have an overall budget bundle of $43,000. We put out 9 different attachment RFPs. We will be going through those, and they individually do fall under the amount that we can approve internally. But we did get good feedback on those.
Okay, so no motion needed.
No motion needed, just an update that we will be doing that internally, the way our guidelines are for bids and RFPs.
Sounds good. Okay. Anything else? Equipment?
Nope. That's it for my
No
part of
more
the business.
Don't have an H under there? You got
Well,
EFG? Stop the G today. All right.
find more that they
Yeah,
want.
I'm sure.
for
Sounds
this.
good. So now we'll move on to old business. We've already did the MI7 update, so now indoor facility update.
Yes. So we kind of left our last meeting with an update from our board retreat that Callan and I were going to go back and look at some numbers on indoor turf to see, well, how we think that we could finance something like that. So I'll turn it over to Director of Finance, Callan. He can kind of give an update and then come back to me and we can see where we go from here.
So in the dollar amount that I think we're going to be needing for a facility that large in the construction cost as well as just the operation of it, we will need a larger funding source. And I think sales tax is probably going to be our best bet to pursue. Ellie will probably mention, we have the property tax elimination discussion that may be happening as well. So how we approach all of this is probably up to you guys and how you want us to proceed. But I think that's the best way for us to be able to reduce our general fund property tax and replace it with that, as well as being able to do a new facility and operate it with that. So that would be my recommendation. To you guys for direction.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Nope, go ahead, Ellie.
And just to follow up to Callan and then obviously get your guys' input, kind of where we sit with that then is, I guess I would recommend we move forward and we have a meeting scheduled with KLJ just to get some updated numbers, because right now our numbers are from 2022, so we know that those are outdated, especially with construction costs. So I think that would be another good start to just start getting updated numbers on those, and then the discussions with hockey boosters as well, just so we know what our target prices on those. And then Callan has also been working on, I think we can come back with a presentation on how we think what those numbers would come up to and how we think we could have a decrease in property tax, what that amount would look like if we were able to do something like this. So I recommend right now we're just really looking high level and just planning at this point. So if I'll take your guys' input and how we move forward.
Yeah, I think it'd be important for us to see what the impacts would that be financially, as far as what kind of revenue that would generate and how that would affect our mills that we're levying to the property owners. Obviously, this election coming up may change some things, but we'll kind of wait and see what happens with that. If there's going to be any kind of tax reform, I guess would be the probably proper way to explain it. So I guess that's what I'd like to see, is how that's going to impact things. And so, any other discussion or comments?
Have you looked at all of, if there was an additional half cent, what that would generate? Do you know what that would have generated in 2023?
Yeah, using some of the numbers from I believe is the 2021 taxable sales collection. Yep. I think a half cent would have been somewhere around $6 million. And so we could offset our general fund, the operations of some of our facilities with $4 million of that, and reduce our general fund, and then give ourselves $2 million for the operation and revenue bonds and stuff like that.
Construction of a facility.
Yep. So, and those, I've run some of those rough numbers, and I can work on that and prepare that for a further presentation down the road. And
is there an accepted like that's 1 year? Do you take a look at a 10-year span and see if maybe 20 whatever year you said you looked at it was a good year or a bad year? Is there a accepted way of doing that? Or
I'm sure there is, and that would be something that I would want to look more into on that. The numbers I put together, I looked at, I think it was 19 through 21, but I recently got access to the past 20 years worth of sales tax collection. When I can look more at the fluctuations in that and see how that would all affect that going forward. So.
Anything else from anybody?
Well, we need to make motion, whatever, to update the number. Commit some money.
I think if you can just make a motion for us to continue to move forward in the planning and getting those numbers updated, I think would be suffice for what we need right now.
3 or 4.
No. And like I said, I think we're sitting at a pretty high level right now, but if we get through this and this is something we decide a path we want to go on, we should have the most knowledge that we have at our fingertips to move forward. So we can continue to work on that if that's the wishes of the board.
Like I said, I don't know if we need a motion. If we need a motion for the KLJ to update numbers, I guess I'd entertain that from the board.
I would move KLJ to upgrade it. Give us information.
Motion by Cliff. For a second. Barry. Any discussion at all? Guess question I would have is, or we're talking when we're saying indoor facility update. What exactly are we talking?
Well, from what we got from the board retreat, we had talked about the indoor turf space is what we were focusing on. The field house. Yep. I guess if it's of your guys' wishes, after we've had the conversation with Hockey Boosters, would we get that fourth rink updated at the same time since that's part of that conversation?
I guess my opinion is we want to look at it. We want to know what those numbers are and be able to plan it out. You better plan it. So.
Yep. Having those numbers for future development, I think, is important. So.
Yep. Okay. We have a motion. We have a second. Any other discussion at all? Callan, let's call the roll.
Hubda. Olson.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Hammer.
Yes. Motion approved. So anything else on the indoor facility?
Like, how would this proceed? Like, if we get numbers back and we all decide or whatever, if we pass something that we want to start going down this road, like, do we need to have started conversations with the city, with Dave Lakefield and his department? Or, I mean, is it something that we can, as the park district, just unilaterally do ourselves to take to the constituents? Or like what's that mechanism like?
I believe the city is going to need to be involved because they would be doing the collection of it and then passing the funds on.
So do they need to approve as well, or do they just have to agree to help collect? Or
I think if it gets voters voted in, I don't think the city can have a choice.
I believe you have to go to the city to get it onto the ballot.
But they have to approve to get it to the ballot. Not that they wouldn't, but
yes.
I mean, I know that's down the road a little bit, but I don't know. I feel like that's kind of what we decided upon at that meeting was we want to start going this route. So it's good that hopefully they start to know that we're barking up this tree a little bit. So.
Yeah, and I can meet with Dave and
right,
have some of those
only if you think you need to
type thing.
Yeah. I'm just curious what it all looks like. So
okay. Anything else, Cliff?
The only reluctance we have given the numbers is political climate and possibility of change in funding go to otherwise for fall election. That's possibility.
Right.
I mean, that's a question mark.
You're right. And I think that looking at the numbers that we would get back for the estimates that we would get back for the building those itself, we would need those regardless, and those wouldn't change with that, and that will take some time as we look at that. So I think we're safe in just planning and moving forward as far as getting those numbers, looking at what sales tax has done in the past. That will take a bit of time. So I don't think that we're going to be jumping into anything too soon, but just making sure that we're coming back and reporting all those to you guys as the process moves forward. But yes, I completely understand your concern. There's lots of moving parts out there right now.
Okay. Anything else on the indoor facility? Now we'll move on to the Bison Trail parking lot.
Callan will pull it up, Rustin.
I'm Rustin Rotlick with Houston Engineering. We've been asked to help out get the Bison Plant parking lot improvements project bid out here for you folks. There's the reason for it, I'm sure you're all aware, is to get both and not park on 54th Avenue. that. But right now, we're just trying to develop a plan to get that parking off of that avenue. And so we're going to be moving that up on the northeast kind of side of the tracks. We'll have to build a approach way across there onto kind of a higher area and get it road, the front road there, get it back into kind of a protected and quiet area. It's we were out there with staff, and it looks like it's a pretty nice place to kind of stay away from the traffic and the roadway dust and so on that's out there. So we have a couple of options that are going to go if you want to kind of page through this on to the next. There'd be a couple of keep going and one more, and that's kind of a zoomed in view of what the parking lot kind of weave in and out of the trees there. That we curved it just to kind of keep some of the trees. We worked with the the forestry division. There's some nice oak trees and so on that they really want to keep. So we're going to kind of avoid those and try to just fit it into the landscape of the land, so to speak. You can see there's the blue line there that is a water line. There was a desire to have an alternate bid. If the costs are within the budget, then we can put that water line in and have a hydrant out there so you have access to water back there. It'd be potable water. We'd have to work with North Prairie Rural Water connection would be made. And they have the meter pits and so on. They've been connected with the project. The other item is, as an alternate, is a vault toilet and some parking, ADA parking as well, adjacent to that. So we're going to be bidding that as an alternate, and if it costs some budget, we'll add that, bring that back to the board with a recommendation, working with it. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell. It's a parking lot. There's not a whole lot of glamorous items in here, but we're just going to kind of get the parking or try to get the parking in a reasonable place and safe.
I like that you can see where all the cars are parked now.
Yeah.
Kind of
Shows the need.
Kind of tells the story pretty well. Yeah.
Okay. I guess question I have, and maybe it's Ellie or Jared, would be: would this whole entire project fit into the paving district then? If we added the water line and added the vault toilet, would that be separate or would that fall into the paving? Oh.
Some of it would not, but we do have the grant from North Dakota Parks for park improvement of $141,000.
Okay.
So seeing where that falls in line, and that's why we chose to do those as alternates, knowing that the funding source with Bank of North Dakota does not cover the infrastructure, but we want to see what those come in as because they could cover the cost in that respect.
Okay. Sounds good. So we're looking for a motion tonight to turn you loose to get some bids.
Correct.
So I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to continue to get the bids for the Bison plant parking.
Motion moved by Mike. Is there a second? Second by Cliff. Any further discussion? Is that a roll call 1, 2? All right, Kellen.
Hovda.
Yes.
Olson.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Hammer.
Yes. Motion approved. Softball Association.
President Hammer, we will stay on the paving part of this.
Okay, sorry.
Callan has it up there.
It was up there. Did I miss it?
This is the auditorium on the end of the Canva. Sorry.
Okay, so Park Board President, Commissioners, so we've been talking about the other paving projects. Currently, what's on the screen right now is the north auditorium parking lot and the south auditorium parking lot. Again, it's pretty much a mill and overlay. There's a few areas that we may have to dig out some more material, basically. But we're asking, Ackerman Esvold is asking for approval to move forward with these, put them out for bid, open bids April 15th, bring back a recommendation to the April 16th board meeting. Again, this is the engineer's estimate as Callan has looked at it, and it does fit currently with the Bank of North Dakota monies that we're looking at. So I'm just looking for approval to move forward with that project.
I would move approval to get cranking on the auditorium project.
Motion by Perry, second by Cliff. Any discussion at all? Not, Callan, call roll.
Hovda. Olson.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Hammer.
Yes. Motion approved.
Thank you. The next one was the Shields Complex. Again, that was out for bid. We did open bids on March 18th. We had two submissions for that. Bechtold Paving, their submission was $239,524.40. The second submission was Keller Paving, $315,903. We are recommending, with Ackerman Eswell, we are recommending Bechtold Paving at $239,524.40 to move that project forward.
Project could be able to possibly be done. Bringing some.
Commissioner Hovde, yes. The like Shields Complex, we said they can start after July 15th because that's pretty much through the youth season. Tom would still have a few adult tournaments, but they don't use that end as much. So they would have July 15th to freeze up. And then the auditorium would be basically when school's done. They'd have the whole summer to get that project done also.
That'd be good. So you look.
Yeah, and the two companies that submitted bids for the Shields said they still have capacity for more work, so they are looking for more, so to be able to get in.
I would move that we award the bid to Bechtold Paving for $239,524.40.
Motion by Perry, second by Mike.
Second. Oh my.
I got her.
I'll third
it. Any other discussion at all? If not, Callan, call the roll, please.
Hovda.
Yes.
Olson.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Hammer.
Yes. Motion approved.
Just one tidbit on that. It's the first bid on a building project or something like that that's actually came in under engineer's estimate by $26,000, and that's mainly because asphalt is running about 30% lower than it was a year ago, but gravel is up about 15%. So it kind of evens out, but I took that as a huge victory yesterday.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's a trend for us on that. So
Okay, and then we already approved the Bison Trail.
Yep.
So we're hoping to be able to have bids and approved by April board meeting.
yeah,
That's
I
the
believe
goal.
Rustin we're planning on having that one open on the 15th also to bring a recommendation to the April 16th board meeting, that project also.
Sounds good. Okay, now are we on the softball?
I'd say we are.
Good.
President Hammer.
Sounds good.
So again, we've been in discussions with a group about transitioning our adult softball program to an association-run user group format instead of, run by the park district. There's about 80% of the adult softball leagues are run by associations in the state, including, some of the bigger ones, Bismarck, Mandan, Grand Forks, Fargo, I think Jamestown. So there is a high percentage that are run by this format. But after we got into it a little bit by reviewing the way our budget is structured, we couldn't bring back a recommendation to turn it over to an association this year. Just the pure finances of it, the way our budget is set up it's not just the adult softball for South Hill, North Hill complex. It's a combined. So we would need more time to dig into that to see if this is feasible to move it in that direction at some point. So again, we had a few more meetings. I think we came up with a pretty good plan for this season until we can either get the financial piece and our budget figured out for next year or down the road. We see the adult softball program operating. Minot Park District will be working with a player participant committee. Currently, there's five, like a 5-member rep group that we've been kind of meeting with. you know, if they have ideas, tweaks, or changes to leagues, tournaments, you know, they would work with Tom to get those things approved before implementation. You know, again, we will take care of all the registrations, rostering, submit rosters, USA Softball. You know, set up the leagues like we have in the past. You know, with some of the committee input. You know, depending on registrations, you know, how many for certain nights and things like that. You know, and then put schedules together and update standings, things like that. You know, we'd be looking at the committee. They'd be involved in the day-to-day operations of supervising league nights, scheduling umpires, you know, covering those umpire shifts if somebody doesn't show up, and also assisting with the tournaments. You know, the committee members would be, you know, supervisors or stipend employees by us of the Minot Park District, and you know, they would work with Tom to resolve any issues on a hopefully not daily basis, but if there's issues together on those. You know, again, we believe this could you know, could bring a strong partnership with Minot Softball Association. You know, I think it gives us a chance to give it a try to see if it's something that might work in Minot, like in other areas. You know, so again, they would work with us this year. We'd be interested moving forward if we can get the budget part figured out. So they would just end up being down the road, possibly just another user agreement group.
Gotcha.
I can try to answer any questions at this time, but that's kind of what we have laid out. Tom has already put information out, teams are registering and things like that. So if this is approved by you guys to move forward with that, we will start working with that committee tomorrow.
Okay. Entertain a motion to approve the Softball Association participation or partnership as Jared laid out.
To approve.
Motion by Cliff. Do we have a second?
I can second.
And by Perry. Any further discussion at all? Do we have to do roll call on that one too, or no? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion approved.
Thank you.
All right, we're on to other business. Do we have any other business?
No, I think we've covered a lot.
Yeah. Longest meeting I've been in.
Yeah, it's been a little
Okay.
busy.
We'll move on to administratively approved alcohol permits.
I make a motion to approve all the alcohol permits.
Second.
Motion by Mike, second by Harry. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Permits are approved. On to the director's report.
All right, I know it's been a longer meeting than we're used to, so I'll go through this fast. But I do have to backtrack a little bit. I kept saying KLJ for the indoor facility studies, and it's JLG, so I got my alphabet confused, so I apologize. So we would just, Commissioner Hovda, we need an amendment that would be JLG to that. All right, thank you. I
Is there a
apologize.
second to that amendment?
I'll second it.
Or who seconded the original one?
Thank
I
you.
think I did.
You're fine with that?
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Now on to the report. Just a few things. We've been working very briefly with the state fair. They are looking at a couple alternative locations for camping. We have some spots back by the MI7 project, so back by our shops in Lowe's Garden. We'll just continue to work with them to see where that goes. It would just be a lease agreement with either them or another entity that would be using that for the 9 days of the fair. So we'll keep you guys in the loop of where that goes. Pump tracks, we're continuing with estimates for that. As you guys know from our board retreat and last board meeting, those estimates came in higher than we anticipated. So we have looked at it, rearranged a few things to see if that would come in any lower. So we have the new arrangement made. Once those estimates come in, we'll bring them back to you guys and see where we're at with that project. I've already talked about meeting with Roosevelt Park users to be proactive on the upcoming summer. One other thing I do believe we need to get on the calendar. Last time we met with the soccer group this summer, kind of as just a public forum and how we would move forward with that group, knowing there has been issues there. We last met with them, I believe it was October, November, and knowing that season is right around the corner, I think it's time for us to sit down with them again We did put money in the budget this year to see if there's, improvements that we need to look at. If we do move forward with some grading, obviously those are things that will affect the schedule out there. So I think it is time to get that group back together again with your direction, President Hammer.
Sure, yeah, I think it's a good idea, and I guess I don't know if we had a formal committee, but I guess I sat on that last time, and I'd be willing to sit on it again. I don't know if there's another commissioner that would be willing to also sit on that committee with me. Cliff, you would? Okay, well, you're appointed, so you're on the soccer committee.
What's the salary?
Talk to Callan.
Gotta be a lot. 26,000.
All right, perfect. So I will just work with you, President Hammer, on getting that scheduled. I will be meeting again on communication for flood control. I'm going to meet with Jeff and Kate, their director over there for marketing, just knowing that, as you guys seen earlier tonight, there is going to be some moving parts as well in the zoo, so we'll make sure that we're getting that information out to zoo visitors. And then just a really big thank you to all the staff. I know Bob kind of gave a report. I was able to go out to the USA and the Canada sled hockey, and it was, it was just phenomenal to see. It was phenomenal to see all the moving parts. It's thanks to Hockey Boosters, the Toros, for all their efforts. Obviously, Prairie Grit and Thor, our staff, maintenance staff, went in and put the boards in, and it was really a all hands on deck team effort. And it's pretty cool to be in our Pepsi rink that is right in our backyard and hear chants for USA and Canada going back and forth. So it was just fantastic. And then going out and seeing the Prairie Grit athletes and a team from Minnesota. Yeah, it was just phenomenal. So thank you for all the work that everybody put into that and working together. It's a really proud moment to be a part of the Minot Park District. And then on to auditorium staff as well. How many events was it in February, March? Yeah, it was a long haul for them. So Tom and Kathy and your crews, thank you for all your work. I think you put on some great events and people do appreciate it. So, and then just a message to the zoo. Obviously, it's been a rough couple weeks. We appreciate all that you guys do. We know that's just the world of the zoos and animals, but we appreciate all of them. So we just want you to know that we're here for anything that you guys might need. And, people come up to me at these events and they'll tell me thank you for everything, and everything is great. And honestly, it's because of the people sitting in this room why everything is successful. So I'm just extremely proud of the Minot Park District and our staff. It's been a really good, busy couple months. And as we know, it does not slow down from here. So that's all I got.
Okay. Any questions for Kelly at all?
We always do the 4th of July festival. Are we doing that somewhere else?
Yeah, the plan is to have that. Yeah, the plan is to move that to Oak Park this year. Yep.
Okay. Anything else for Ellie? If not, commissioners report. Cliff, you get to go first.
Just one comment. Hockey. Athleticism. Especially with well done.
I think it's great that we showed so well, because I think there may be opportunities down the line too, because it went well, and I think that's really cool if we can put our name on the map like that. So great job by everyone. That's awesome.
Mike?
Yeah, just reiterate that this event offer. One thing I want to hit on is Rick Bischoff, who Dakota Rattlers, the wrestling program in town, has reached out to me a few times about they don't have space. They're losing their space. They really don't have a play program right now. They're using facilities up there. That's going to go with the new. Hammer's going to drop that they're not going to go. So we kind of met a few times about possibility. Okay. That morphed into a. Can we partner with the program? I want Derek to all the rules. Checked on the private entity, public entity. Had a really good meeting. No daring. Grateful. Hopefully, the program. Keep you up to date how that's going.
Okay. Guess I don't have much. We've been here long enough, but question for Bob is, when is that, are those boards coming out now? The
Yeah, we're just, because we have a long-term. In this week. Next Monday.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. And I echo, I went there Wednesday my plan was to go have lunch and I didn't think I'd have trouble parking, but I did. It was so full of people. I was surprised. So I guess I was surprised, but I wasn't surprised, but it was good thing the beer gardens wasn't open. I had to go back to work that day. That's all I had. So there's nothing else. Look for a motion to adjourn. On to the foundation meeting next. Motion by Cliff.
Well, second.
Second by Mike. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Meeting's adjourned. Now we're on to the foundation meeting. Any personal appearances at all? Doesn't look like it. Crowd's emptying out. The next on the agenda would be the meeting minutes. Look for approval of the February 20th, 2024 foundation meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Motion by Mike, second by Perry. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. Approval of bills. We don't have any bills to approve. February statement. Any questions for, I guess, Callan? Any comments on the February statement at all?
Nope.
Any questions for Callan at all? Not on the new business. Nothing. Other business. The Shields Complex liquidated damages.
Well, thanks for having me back.
Is the carpet worn out?
Park board for foundation president and foundation commissioners, maybe, I don't know, something like that. Just kind of give an update. So after the last board meeting and the got direction on how to proceed with the liquidated damages for the Shields Complex or South Hill Softball Complex. We submitted a letter back to Strata and accepting the deduction of $25,000 from the final pay app, for the liquidated damages. So we have it in front of us. If this board is still good with that, we will sign that and close that part of the project out. So again, they will not be issuing us a check for $25,000. It is deducted off the final pay app. So our final pay application to finish out that project is $110,620.18. With this, they also, KLJ did hold back $10,000 in retainage for a few items that they still need to finish until when weather permitting. There's a little bit of concrete work, make sure our water heater works, and I think there was an outlet, something like that. So if they do not complete those, we obviously will not pay that out, and we will pay to get them done ourselves.
So the final pay app, really the final pay is 120, but we're holding 10.
Correct. 110. Yeah. So for this current pay app, it would be $110,620.18. And when they finish those other items, we would get a closeout of $10,000.
Okay. You'd be looking for a motion to approve that final. Yep.
Correct, and it obviously would be run through the foundation.
Good. Entertain a motion to approve the final payout.
That would include accepting final.
Yes, correct.
Motion by Cliff,
I'll second.
second by Mike. Any further discussion at all? Alan, call the roll, please.
Hovda.
Yeah.
Olson.
Yes.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Hammer.
Yes. Motion's approved.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda looks like it's adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.